Hello and welcome. You're watching FI. I am Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. Now, throughout this week, we've been bringing you different things that you need to know about Pegasus. Are there other softwares like that? What exactly does it do to your phone? How does it work? And how dangerous it really is. But today on the program, we bring you more about the origin of Pegasus. Where does it come from? Also, we've got some details regarding how much does it actually cost. Pegasus, in fact, is said to be one of the most costly spies out there. We'll take you, turn by turn on how much does it cost for every service that they actually give out. Let's first begin by telling you more about NSO and the company at least. Now, NSO Group Technologies, the word NSO comes from the initials of the three of its founding members altogether. It is essentially an Israeli technology firm whose spyware, called Pegasus, like we said, enables remote surveillance of smartphones. It's effectively the most powerful spyware currently available, or should we say the one that we at least know about so far. It was founded in 2010. It employed almost 500 people as of 2017. It's a small group of people essentially, but they do some mind-boggling stuff. Now, NSO's founders, who are they? They are ex-members of the Unit 8200, the Israeli Intelligence Corps unit responsible for collecting signals in intelligence. On the kind of work they do, well, that's very controversial given the current context, but officially at least on their website, they say that NSO creates technology that helps government agencies prevent and investigate terrorism and crime to save thousands of lives across the globe. Our products, they say, have been successfully used to prevent terrorism, including guns, violence, car bombs, suicide bombers, at transportation hubs, public parks, markets, concerts, venues, sports arenas, and other public areas as well. They hope that they can break down the pedophilia, sex, drug trafficking rings, and money laundering operations as well. And their aim is that they find and rescue kidnapped children, assist emergency search and rescue the teams in locating survivors trapped under collapsed buildings in the wake of natural disasters, of construction failures. Now remember, this is what they say. Of late, evidence has emerged on what actually this incredibly sophisticated software and spyware is actually used for. And it doesn't come cheap. Pegasus is said to be one of the most expensive spies out there. So we thought we'll bring you a list of how much does it actually cost. And it's a fascinating list. Let's dive straight into that. Just for an installation of the Pegasus program, they charge about 5 lakh US. Then there is another thing of how much they charge per phone, per person, per number that they actually look into and infect for you. So for about 10 iPhones or Android phones, they charge, it's almost like a slot that they're giving out, it's $650,000 for just 10 iPhones and Android users. For 5 BlackBerry users, it's about $5 lakh. You see how that value has gone up? Why is that? Well, because every iOS or operating system that they hack into has a different mechanism. So they need to change their technology as well. Then there is the Cybium users. This is the technology that was used and the operating system that was used in older days on Nokia phones as well. That is about $3 lakh US. And then further surveillance targets that a client might require. A client might say that these are specific numbers that we want to look into, and that has an additional fee for say about 10 extra targets. And yes, that's a package that they give out. It's about $8 lakh. And for 100 extra targets, it's that much money. And for 50 targets, it's about $5 lakh US. Also, if you have just about 20 targets and their value is like that, it's almost like getting a top up on your phone. That's how this entire company works and the money that they charge. Also, their annual system maintenance fee of about 17% of the total cost every year after the initial order, that is also there. They also, the charges are for initial fixed period of time, and renewals, they cost extra. So what Pegasus is really doing, and what this entire chart tells you, is that they're not just selling you technology at once. They have an entire team that comes in to install it for you. They have a control and command center that they help assist their clients run, and there are charges that go on for all of them. Fascinating details, right? But did you know that Pegasus is not the only spyware out there? We've got the top other 4 spywares, known at least, that are out in the market. Let's tell you a little about that. There is a dropout Jeep, which is used by the National Security Agency, the NSA, to spy on targeted individuals. This spyware is planted on laptops, mobile devices, especially on Apple iPhones. And then, once installed, it has the ability to remotely push and pull files from the device. SMS retrieval, contact list, voicemail, geolocation, camera capture, cell tower location. Tracking your movement and monitoring what person is messaging or watching, all of that is available. After Pegasus, in fact, this is set to be the next big thing. There's another one which is only for Android. It's called RCS Android. This one spreads through an app released on Google Play Store, and it is designed by a technology company from Italy. This particular Android malware also has sort of similar features. It can slip into your phone without your knowledge and then copy all that data, have that be remote controlled by somebody sitting across the globe at times. The next software that and spyware that we'll tell you about is Exodus, created by an Italy-based surveillance company. This malware has carried Italian text in its code, infected phones then through an app. And like we said, that's how phishing works. You slip into a very innocent looking, a regular looking text message, and once you click on it, that's it. The job of the spyware is done. Through that, it then has details, all of them available on your phone. And these targets then can't really control anything that's going on anymore. It allows the hacker to get hold of data ranging from a list of apps. So phone's contact list pictures is the least of them. There's also the P6 Geo, most likely used again by intelligence agency and can be used to manipulate GSM mobile users as well. What we're essentially telling you is that what Pegasus, why it is so expensive and why it is said to be the most sophisticated, is that earlier there were different spywares out there for different kind of phones, for different kinds of information that you wanted to get out of your targets. Pegasus is all in one, and they're charging people for that as well. Fascinating details, lots of repercussions of that as well, but let's try and deep dive into this technology a little bit, and we'll take that forward with our panelists now. We've got Kaushik Ray with us, we've got Shiv Shankar Singh, we've got Ritesh Bhatia and NS Napinai as well. Ritesh, let me begin with you. Just yesterday on the program, you had lots of fascinating details for us that actually prompted me to look and deep dive a little more into what's going on in this crazy world of spyware. Help our viewers understand a little bit about how this entire command and control center works. And what we understand, and the explainer that I just did actually tells you that they have an entire team. Once you employ them, once you're a client of NSO, they will send down a team. They will set up a control center for you, and it's like any other service, highly sophisticated and of course highly confidential.
Absolutely. So Sonal, thanks for having me again. Sonal, what happens, in the command and control center, especially let's take in the case of Pegasus or the other, the softwares that you have mentioned, some of them don't require like a team coming down, but things like, you missed one which is called as Kangaroo, which is much more expensive than Pegasus also. And very recently, that Kangaroo spyware which is there is also can also work on MacBooks, on Windows, besides the mobile devices also. So coming back to the command and control center, the CNC, what we call in short, is like here in case of like Pegasus and Kangaroos, a team comes down, they sit over there, and what is happening, let's say you are the target. When you are the target, so all your information, not only the current information, but whatever information is there on your phone is something that I have devices in front of me. It could be like television devices, big computer screens, or let's say I have a laptop. I'm a single person right now targeting only Sonal. So I just go onto like a web browser kind of a thing. I enter my username, password. I have a target. It shows me where the target is, where the software is installed. And now I just click on the icon. So let's say I want to check WhatsApp messages of Sonal. When I'll click on the WhatsApp message, what is happening is I can filter it by incoming, outgoing, what is the message, by name, everything. I want to access Sonal's gallery. I will just select gallery, the icon gallery, and I can see everything as such. Now, if you're telling me like, so this is basically what is called as a command and control center. It's not like, okay, there has to be a big house or a big something like that. No, just on your laptop. Now, I'm telling you with this so much confidence because here we are talking about the spywares, which are something that, you really don't need somebody to click also. There is another category of spywares which are available like as low as for 5,000 rupees a year. And for that, I need access to your mobile. And once I have your mobile, I install that APK file. It works mostly on Android
like
phone.
passe now, right? We're talking about zero-click technology, which is what everybody is looking at. Let me open it up to the panel as well, and let me go to Kaushik Ray now. Kaushik, the reason I think it's so important to understand the money involved here is that also tells you about who are these people, who are the potential clients who could be hiring these people. These are, of course, could be governments, as we have seen so far. NSO's website also says that they only deal with what they call vetted governments. And then there could be other leaders. I'm just trying to make sense of these numbers here. And I mean, what Ritesh said, that this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are others which are, in fact, more expensive than Pegasus.
See, these advanced zero-click software like Pegasus is obviously the price dictates that it will be only used for targeted surveillance. Now, whether it's used by political parties, whether it's used for specific drug cartels or terrorists, etc., the cause is secondary. The capability we know, I mean, these are the most advanced zero-click or side channel attacks. These are essentially where even if you don't have the device, control of the device, you can control from a distance. And, Israel is really years ahead. The point that you mentioned about NSO, 500 people, can you think of something like that in India? I mean, that's a whole ecosystem. 500 people, they saw this opportunity years before anyone else saw it. The 8200 unit that you said, we also work with them. I mean, these are Israel military specialists who looked at that security would be a dominant unaddressed segment, and they prepared for it right from schools to starting with a PhD in cybersecurity years before anyone even saw this opportunity.
Right.
So really, they are. It's very advanced, but also there's something also I would like to allay fears that in parallel with the attack ecosystem, there's also a defense system also.
Like?
I'm saying there are cyber defenders also. There's a huge ecosystem which is trying to counter, these attacks. So it's NSO today or Pegasus has been in the news because of some high-profile attacks and very high-profile names that have come out. But there is obviously very strong defense softwares also that are coming up. It's a game process. Of one-upmanship.
Now, I want to go to NS Napnai over here, and how fascinating it is to look at these details. It is equally scary. Just the amount of control it gives one individual, one very wealthy individual, if I can say that at this point. I just want to understand from you a legal aspect here. The Pegasus leak, in a way, has unleashed what was unknown so far to the general public. Now that we know about it, is there going to be, I mean, wishful to say, is there going to be an international sort of law to push on this? But existing laws, what do they tell us? What sort of checks and balances do we have internationally as well on companies like these, on this very, very sophisticated spyware?
Yeah, Sonal, totally. We always say crime doesn't pay, but all the figures that you set out clearly shows that crime does pay. And and how. And every single aspect that was discussed in terms of how Pegasus works can potentially lead to the commission of crime. When a zero-click attack happens, effectively you are taking control of, and that's what Pegasus is supposed to do, the root servers, right? I mean, I'm sorry, not the root servers, the root OS. And the intrusion, the mode and manner of its usage and its functionality, every single one of those will and can potentially amount to a cybercrime, be it of hacking a computer contaminant as well as the IT Act sets out, as opposed to just a virus attack, and the data theft aspect, and also in terms of
but who is culpable in a case like this? Would the client be responsible for misuse, or should the blame come on NSO for knowing how you're sort of giving out such a sophisticated spyware?
Absolutely. I'm so glad for this question, because I feel that in all the political angles that have been taken so far, the primary concern has been missed out, which is what is NSO's responsibility or liability here.
Yes.
We constantly keep talking about responsible technology, and here is something which is as irresponsible as it comes, because it is not for Israel or for an organization to decide who or which government can have a cyber weapon. And Pegasus is nothing short of a cyber weapon. And if it is used against certain kinds of people, it can be termed a cyber warfare. You mentioned in the passing the need for international standards for this. I think that's the most important issue that has arisen with this Pegasus project, or the Pegasus issue overall. We need to wake up to the kind of risks that technology brings with it. And it's shocking that nation states are unable to come together to devise international standards.
But for obvious reasons, right? Because look at the clients here. You're expecting a lot of, allegedly, let's just make that very clear. Allegedly, all clients, all world leaders are supposed to form policy on this, are the ones utilizing these things. So how can we even expect them to come with the proper policy on this one? It's a fascinating note.
Well, but then the West and all democracies say that this is something they will want. But one further point, and the ray of hope I wanted to also bring in is that irrespective of whether these attacks happen from Israel or wherever, it could be through a client or a server, to be more precise, in India, or it could be from Israel. The good news for victims is that the law gives them the right to sue in India, to prosecute in India, irrespective of where the attack may have emanated from.
Okay.
So to that extent, the law is very clear that
just hold that thought. Hold that thought, because I want to dive in a little further on what you're saying as well. We'll skip into a very short break. When we come back, I want to go to Shivam Shankar as well and try and decode where are we going legally on this matter as well. That's coming up on the other side. Welcome back. Let's go across to our panel now. Shivam Shankar Singh is also with us. Shivam, help us understand, when money exchanges hands in deals like this, how does that happen? Is it all happening in the deep, dark world of Bitcoin or in cryptocurrency, or how is this working? And I ask this question because it is very difficult to sort of pin down, and in case these cases were to go to court and say, okay, these are my clients, NSO is not going to disclose them. The clients are not going to come down on their own. So establishing the money trail will be key in investigations like these. How does one even begin to do that?
So the first thing I would like to say is that what's happened is actually very rare, because what we have known in the past is that a few select intelligence agencies have these capabilities. Like you mentioned, the NSA, the Israeli.
You're saying it's never been commercial earlier?
Yes, it's never been a private sector entity who's been willing to sell to so many different governments something of this caliber and something of this scale. So this is going to present a major national security threat to a lot of different countries, not just the ones who've used the NSO group, but also the ones who haven't.
Right.
So a global framework is something that will be talked about inevitably. The way that the money trail would work, I expect it to not be a part of any country's budget. It's not going to be a line item, because if you look at intelligence agencies, then every intelligence agency has a black budget which is not laid out and divided into separate heads. So for something like this, if the government is an end client, I would be very surprised if there was a line header item saying we paid NSO Group this much, which makes a private sector case coming in very difficult. I am not expecting the victims to be able to go to court and actually prosecute the NSO Group and build a case against them, because something of this scale would have to be investigated by a national government using all of its resources, especially considering how difficult it is to detect on mobile phones.
Right. I just want to go across to Ritesh back on this question of how money actually exchanges. So if I'm not wrong, and Ritesh, correct me if I'm, currently the law in the country is that in case you want to look into surveillance details, the details have to, it has to be a letter that is signed by the Home Secretary. They have to sanction looking into these details, etc. But if you have a client, if you say have a product like Pegasus, which is say coming from NSO, it is not exactly going to be mentioned.
Absolutely. I mean, why would government or any company as such mention like, okay, I'm buying a surveillance software? I'm sure, because even if you look at the bonds that we have with Israel, I'm talking about our India-Israel relationship, it's like quite strong, So probably this could have been, rooted through something else also. See, I'm not really the person to answer related to the financial part, but I'm pretty sure that things like these are never put as, like, when even I do cybercrime investigations, my client says, please on your bill, don't put cybercrime investigations. I don't want it to be out in the open, So I'm sure for this also, cybersecurity consultancy.
Okay.
So that's a broader term. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm pretty sure the government wouldn't be like fool enough, or any agency wouldn't be fool enough to mention something like this.
Of course, that's all the time we have sadly on the program, but we'll keep deep diving into what exactly this world of spyware has in store for us. Thank you all for your time. It's been a fascinating, enlightening, troubling discussion to say the least, but we'll continue deep diving into this. Thanks so much for joining us on FYI.